Okay guys, so we're doing some cold weather coon trapping here. Basically what we've got is it rained about 4 inches the day before yesterday, and all the creeks come up. Took yesterday to bring them back down. They're still a little high, but it's low enough we can come in here and set this, and especially this time of year, this is the way I like to come in and do this, because everything you see track wise is fresh. Everything I'm seeing is within the last day and a half. Now you know, the coons ain't gonna move real good. It's supposed to get down to 6 degrees tonight. It's about 25 right now. Water's starting to ice up, but there's enough of it moving that it's not freezing up real bad. So what we got is we got this place down in the bottoms here. We got 2 creeks coming together, and you know, the coons are not running in the creeks. Whenever the water gets this cold, you need to stay out of the water. Your pocket sets, you know, your sets in the water, they're not going to be as good. So I might concentrate on you know, like dryland PVC sets and dog proofs. So we've got a location right here, and the coons are going to be running the high creek banks more so in the winter time than they are in the early fall. So instead of the coons running down that creek, they're coming down off the dry land. And well, you can see this area is just full of tracks, and this is going to be this is the initial setup on this area, so everything's fresh. But you can see they've you know, there's some tracks there. They've coming down out of the bushes there, and you know, they're coming up here. You can see all the tracks, you know, and that's 8-10 feet away from that creek. Now, a coon in this kind of weather, he's going to be, you know, there's some more tracks there. They're running down fairly close to the water, you know, but coon's not going to be in the water, and you need to make your sets, you know, high up enough. I mean, this creek didn't come down this much in a day, you know that, and those coons are going to be running that high bank. They don't want to get their feet wet. They're just like you. So we're gonna make a set here. Okay guys, so you know, there's our set. Like I said, set on trails and set doubles. We have another one right there, 2 dog proofs set. This is an area that landowner only wants to use dog proofs on, so you know, we'll oblige him on that. And you know, there's a double set on that trail, set on that trail. Be coon there in the morning. Okay guys, so here's another good area, you know, for cold weather coon. See the tracks? Tracks right there leading right down in the water. He's just skirting the water. Just right around that bend, he's getting back on dry land. But the bank's too steep for him to come, so he's got to come through the water. He's coming right up the trail, right there where that dog proof is. And then they're also coming right there, and they're going back up the high bank, straight up, following the trail. Coons aren't in the creeks like they will be in the fall. Now, put a double here because you can see the footprints. They're different sizes, so we know there's different coons, and they're going each way. They're going this way and they're going this way. So you know, if you've got the traps, set them. You know, I firmly believe in gang setting for coons. You're going to get the majority of your coons the first 3 or 4 nights. After that, you know, you're just getting stragglers. You're not going to pay for your gas. So you know, everybody wants to buy 3, 4, 5 dozen traps, and you know, and them traps ain't going to catch nothing sitting in the back of your truck. You know, if you got them, set them. And like I said, I firmly believe in gang setting, especially for coons. So we'll get these plugged in, and we'll move down to the next location. Okay, so you can see right there, we got coon tracks. They're coming from up. They're going across the creek. They're not running with the creek, they're just crossing the creek. The reason you hit these creeks is because this is your pinch point. You know, you can trap them coons on dry land, but you know, get them in the pinch points right here on this edge of this creek. Little bar. This is a perfect place for a double. So we'll stick in a couple of traps here, like I said, you know, I believe in always doubles, always gang setting for coons. And you know, the biggest thing you know, I feel is people I struggle with is you know, set on sign. You know, don't put your traps where you think the animals should be. Put your traps where the animals are, you know. And whenever you come to a spot, you know, and you see stuff like that, you know, coon tracks going each direction, up and down, back and forth, that's where the animals are. You know, that's where you need to put your traps. You know, you don't need to be sticking them, you know, up there by that tree. You know, that's not where the animals are running. You know, put it right in their path, stick it right in front of their face. You know, your dirt holes, your PVC sets, your dog proofs, whatever. Get it right in front of them, you know, especially in this cold weather trapping. Them coons aren't so worried about food now, as they're just, you know, they're running from den tree to den tree. You know, the rut's about to kick in here in the next couple of weeks, and, you know, that's what you're shooting for. So we'll get this set up and we'll move on. Okay, another quick tip on your DPs. The ground's frozen right here. You can see it coming up in big chunks. But cover your chains. Or be frozen or thawed ground. Cover your chains on your dog proofs. You know, all it takes is a coon coming up there and he sees, you know, your trap tag on your chain or something. He pulls that chain, pulls that dog proof out of the ground. Once that thing's laid over, he's not gonna mess with it. It's got to be in that vertical position. So, you know, do yourself a favor and cover up the trap chains. Don't take long, and it'll save you coons. Okay, so we're on a different creek here. Same type deal. You can see the ice is starting to form. It's going to get down real cold. They're saying 6 degrees tonight. You know, the sand's already frozen around the creeks. But we're going to plug in a couple sets. What we got here, there's the creek. High bank on both sides. And this is the only bar showing. And you can see from the tracks, this has all been in the last 2 days. This is where the coons are running. So we're going to stick a couple sets right in front of their faces. You see I've got a dog proof over there, chain covered up. Okay, now for those of you that have used dog proofs late into the season, you know what I'm talking about. You're going to see a dramatic decrease in your catches once it starts really cooling down. And what that is the coons aren't that worried about food anymore. The later in the season you go, the closer to the rut you get, you know, the young coons den up, the mothers den up, and the boars are the only things running, and they're just worried about running from den to den. So you know, if you guys run a lot of them, you'll end up seeing a lot of times what happens is the coons will come right up to your dog proof and look at it, and they'll move on. They won't eat it. So you know, that coon's still there. He could be caught, but you're not going to catch him in dog proof. You know, dog proofs are great, but you know, you can't rely solely on them if you want numbers. So to remedy that, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a well, I call it a non-dog proof dog proof. What it is it's essentially a PVC set. You know, here's what we need. What I've got is taking a piece of 1-inch PVC, beveled the end of it, and what you're doing is you're mimicking a dog proof, because these coons are already coming up to the trap on your dog proofs. They're just not eating it because they have to be hungry. They have to reach their hand in that dog proof. What we're going to do is we're just going to make them come up to it, and we're going to catch them. So we're using a 1.5 coil spring on this. You know, a number 11 will work. So we're going to make this set for you. Tools we need here, tools I use anyway, are I got a pair of rubber gloves. You know, you want to treat these sets just like you would your canine sets. You'd be surprised, depending on the bait you use, how many foxes you actually get, because foxes love running these creeks too. So we use rubber gloves. We got our PVC thing here. Got my modified digging tool. You know, I mean, you ain't gotta have fancy stuff, guys. You know, this is my trapper cap here. You know, it's 16-ounce Mountain Dew bottle. You know, it fits perfect over the 1.5s. If you lose it, no big deal. We got a 1.5 coil spring, center swiveled, double jawed. For coons, everything I want double jawed. Got our stake driver, and we got our cookie cutter for bedding. Now, cold weather, especially next to these creeks, you got a lot of moisture. I bed everything in just peat moss. That's it. It looks stupid, but you know, you wouldn't think it'd blend in. But you know, you've got this attractant, you've got this thing stuck in the ground, ain't worried about it. You're gonna catch coons. So we'll get the set made, and then I'll show it to you guys. Okay guys, so there's a set right there. You know, you're gonna ask, I know why I use the cookie cutter, especially in this cold weather. I mean, the only thing I'm using to bed that trap is peat moss. You know, peat moss is hard to bed in, and you know, that cookie cutter is specifically made for 1.5, and you know, it's nothing fancy. You know, real simple. You know, but it works great, and you know, you got real rigid walls whenever you use that cookie cutter, and that helps in the bedding of that trap. You know, because coons they like to flip traps, you know, if they feel it. But you know, you bed it in peat moss. It looks funny, but you know, you got to realize that right there is the focal point. He's not worried about that. He's just worried about coming up and working it. You know, if you can see I kind of used a little bit of backing, not much, but you know, the biggest thing is to keep him at that set. You know, get him in the middle of the trail. This is where the set is made, and give him something in there that smells. You know, I use a louder scent on these than I do in my dog proofs. They keep him there long enough for him to work at that, to get caught. Targeting the back foot on that, you know, I'd say, you know, I'm not even going to say how offset over or whatever, because it doesn't matter. It's just like on coyote and fox trapping. There, you can say 10 back and 2 over, or 12 back and 3 over, or whatever. That doesn't matter. The trick is to keep him at that set and keep him working at it, and you're gonna catch him regardless how your trap placement is. But I will say this on these sets, I do like them, you know, at least 6 inches back, because I am targeting a back foot catch. You know, I'd rather catch a coon in a back foot, even with having a double jawed trap. And 9 times out of 10 in these sets, you will get them in the back foot, because that trap's tall enough. A coon is almost going to get up there on both feet and work that set and be bouncing around on his back feet. So anyway, that's set. Like I said, right here, there's dog proof right there. You know, they're not 5 feet apart. It's how you want them. Always set doubles. You can see there's tracks all over through here, made in the last 2 days. These are good sets. So you know, we're gonna go plug in a few more, and tomorrow hopefully we'll show you some catches. So anyway, till next time.